What is up, my friends? How are we? You're very welcome along to Tuesday night's Late Night Agenda, where, of course, it's the night before the Merseyside derby. So, give us your thoughts on the team selection. Give us your thoughts on Arne Slot's press conference comments today. Of course, we're going to discuss the title of tonight's stream. Are we looking at Hugo and Delap being our options in the summer? Well, we'll talk through it tonight and see if you guys agree with some of the reporting around it. It definitely does give off a feeling that we can forget about Alexander-Isak. More and more stuff coming out to suggest £150 million is going to be a number that would get the job done, but let's be honest, we ain't paying that, and we need to be honest about that with ourselves as well. So let's try figure it all out. Xavi Simons is a name that's been both linked to us and tipped as a potential good signing from a former Liverpool player as well. We'll be talking a little bit about another midfield option that we can draw a line under and say done and dusted, as they signed a new deal with their club. So yes, how are we? Jamie, you said Isak was a pipe dream. It was. Look, I'm expecting the similar outcome in this transfer window that we get all the time, which is big talk, backtracking, excuses, and cheaper alternatives. Doesn't mean some of them won't be good alternatives, you know, I've got to be honest about that. Nothing wrong as an example with bringing in a striker for the same money we get for Darwin if they can do a better job, so no issue with any of that stuff. But at least we can forget about the Isak stuff as well. And thank you, Mark, for sending me on the officials there for the game against Fulham on Sunday. I'll go through that in a while. So where do we want to kick off tonight? Obviously, as I say here now, Arsenal 1-0 at half-time against Fulham. Wolves 1-0 up against West Ham as well. And at least before I went live, because it wasn't half-time yet, United were trailing by a 1-0. An absolute wonder goal from Anthony Elanga. Don't know if you guys seen it, but ran about 85 yards with the ball and buried it. So good finish there. And of course, he is a former United player. Dinglebury. Love that name, my man. Dinglebury James, welcome in, bro. Thank you for your super chat. First one of the night. Appreciate you, sir. So yeah, did we get caught out with any April Fool's jokes or anything today? The one that Anything Liverpool posted, I really just don't understand. Don't get what the whole idea behind that was. It wasn't a particularly funny take. But you know, I'm always in agreement with anybody who moans about the owners and their lack of spending. Hi, Sabrina. Good to see you fully clothed. How are you? Oh, she's got 2 big jars in her hands. And I'm not talking about the puppies. I'm talking about sweetie jars. But they're empty. So, no good to anybody. But I did ask her to get them for me, so thank you. Yeah. Now we're going to fill them full of Cadbury's mini eggs.
It's not going to be full to top because 510.
Well, we'll have a go. We'll have a go.
Try to fit all your mini eggs in.
There you go.
Fancy now, jars.
So, I'm going to have to, you can do that in the kitchen because I have to just sort out something here in the chat.
Okay.
So, yeah, very classy to talk about somebody who took their own life, mate, in that way. You're not at all an asshole, so well done to you. But cheers for the money. But imagine saying that about someone's mother who took their own life. I mean, you are a certain type of piece of shit, mate, but don't know what else to say. We'll move on. I'm not letting these lads get in my head. As I said, if anybody wants to abuse me or anything like that, throw money at it. I'm always up for that. So feel free to give me some more money, mate, if that's what you want. But again, cheers for being a class act. Right, we move on, ladies and gents. So, what to talk about? And by the way, Mr. Dinglebury, I hope nothing like that ever happens to your family, mate. I always say this to people. I never wish suicide or anything on anybody else's family. So, you know, I hope that you don't have to ever suffer the pain that our family went through, nor anybody else's family for that matter. Yeah, it's not really a jokey subject. But anyway, we move on. Let's talk about Arsenal for a second, because some reports today coming out of Italy to suggest that Dusan Vlahovic is going to be a potential option for Alexander-Isak as a replacement there if Newcastle go to sign him. Look, I don't think Newcastle will end up losing Isak this summer, because I don't think Liverpool or Arsenal are going to pay anywhere close to the £150 million. Will Arsenal look to Vlahovic? Who knows? He's been mentioned before. We've also spoke yesterday about the fact that Arsenal have other options at centre forward that they're looking at. So let's wait and see what happens there. Look, I think for me, the thumbnail for tonight's stream was two players that I think are entirely achievable and maybe entirely okay. And that's kind of where I wanted to kick off the conversation tonight. I wonder what people would feel like. So the reason I put those two particular strikers on the thumbnail tonight was, if we end up in a world where Darwin Núñez leaves and Diogo Jota leaves and we get them replaced with Ekitike, there you go. So if we get them replaced with Ekitike and let's say Liam Delap, I wouldn't have anything against that. Sincerely, I would look at that and think that that is a refreshing of the attack, and yes, maybe minimal money spent, but as I've always said, I'm not against good business. I'm not here saying that FSG or the owners have to just throw good money away. If we can do these things in a realistic way and it does improve the team, for instance, if we had Dan's, you brought in Liam Delap and you've got Ekitike, they're decent options for me. And if the club have really honed in on Hugo being the one that they want, which by all accounts today, there is a lot of reporting saying that Liverpool are eyeing him up with serious interest, you know, the question should be, I think as fans, have we improved that area? And if we're all realistic about Isak not being an option, well, who else is there really out there at the moment that we think can do a job and do a job well? So right, let me get into a couple of these super chats. Craig Adams, thank you, mate, for gifting a membership. Appreciate you. Sonny said, am I crazy for thinking Curtis could replace Trent at right back? Also, thanks for putting me in the video if it was you or whoever makes the videos. Connor always clips them up, my man. But look, always a pleasure to include any of your comments in. I don't want Curtis Jones at right back, in all honesty. I mean, I've heard Arna talk about it, and I assumed he was talking about it from a sarcastic point of view, but for me, I would pass on Curtis Jones being a right back option. I don't know if you're talking about particularly just for tomorrow or in general moving forward. Now, we did get an update from the manager that looked like Conor Bradley certainly won't be ready to start tomorrow. This game does look as if it came a bit too soon, but it'll be interesting to see maybe if he takes his place in the squad or on the bench. I'm buzzing for tomorrow. I can't wait. It's been so long since the Reds played. It feels like a lifetime ago. I was watching the first half of the Arsenal game and I got to say it was very one-paced and dull and a real lack of energy in there. Stevie boy, why is Slot answering questions on the contract situation when it should be Hughes answering those questions? Still waiting for Mo and Verge. How long? Do you want me to tell you why, Stevie boy? The answer is because they're cowards. I know people are probably fed up me using this word, but I feel it's vindicated again. Or I feel it's justified. We were all told that Arne Slot wasn't going to be dealing with the contract situations, that Arne Slot wasn't going to be in charge of those negotiations. So you're right. Why not just bring out the sporting director to answer these questions? I guess the reason is, Stevie boy, because they don't want to answer them. And look, that's the club's prerogative as well. But I'm getting a little bit tired of reading stuff from the likes of Paul Merson saying that he thinks all three are going to be off at Liverpool and that Liverpool have made a mess of it. It just opens up the door, like the Madrid situation, for outside noise to come in and destabilise. And for a club that's supposed to be so robust and such a big club, I don't feel like we let ourselves get walked on in the media at times and don't stand our ground enough. And in this situation, man, you're right. The club should be looking to be proactive here and at least give a stance of power, strength on the contract situations. But again, unfortunately not. The real Johnny Sins. Craig, would you take João Felix at Liverpool? No, I wouldn't. And thank you for your kind words, mate. I wouldn't. Probably would have about 3 or 4 years ago, maybe. But no, his career has been a very strange one since he left Benfica. The money that Atleti paid from was crazy, and then he's just been kind of shipped around since. So, no, I'll pass on João Felix. He'll go down for me as one of those players, wasted talent again. Neil Caldwell said, seems like we played months and months ago. It really does. It It feels so long, man. But you know, what a game to welcome back to Premier League tomorrow. I'm really excited. Hayden said, Isak has 1 year left. Maybe we get him on a free. I don't think he does, mate. I think he has longer than that on his contract. I don't know the exact date, but I do remember looking across it a while ago and it was longer. Even for Aina, by the way. I know a lot of people are saying Liverpool should look at Aina right back because he's available on a free. He won't be. Forest have an option to extend his contract for a year, which I'm assuming they will take up. So that's another one that we can maybe say not going to happen. Mukarab said, it was made abundantly clear that Arne Slot wasn't doing the contracts, made abundantly clear by the same journalist asking Slot. I know, but this is the problem with these journalists. When you have a group of people who are in the press conferences that are allowing themselves to be told by the club what can and can't be asked and don't actually put anybody on the spot, this is the type of cowering bullshit question that comes out over and over again. Look, they'll argue that they have to ask these questions, but they should be asking, why are you wheeling out Arne out here where's Richard Hughes? Let him answer these questions. Where's Mike Gordon? Where's Julian Ward? Get these lads to answer the questions because Arne is the head coach. And you're right, that was made abundantly clear. Smartest people in the room, don't forget the club are probably scared that they'll make the journos look stupid. Well, they do a good enough job of that themselves, to be honest with you, the journalists. Now, I've got to be careful. I'm not allowed to name journalists anymore because, you know, the popo and all that still makes me laugh, that. Philip said, I think Delap can go a long way. I know he used to terrorise Kwanzaa at a youth level for City every time we played against each other. Look, I'd happily have Liam Delap as a secondary option. So, I'm going to ask if you guys would be happy with the two options on the thumbnail. So, let me type this out. I should really learn how to type better. Okay, yep. Right. Right, so I'm going to ask, would you be happy with Diogo Jota and Darwin Núñez out and Ekitike and Delap in? Yes or no? So basically, 2 out, 2 in. Let's assume similar money on both sides of it. Because looking at it, I would imagine we'd probably get a similar fee for Darwin that Frankfurt are looking for Hugo. And then if you're looking at Jota for Delap, well, we know that there's a £40 million relegation clause in Delap's contract. And we know that because that came out earlier on today. So let me just read that out for you. Alright, so there we go. This piece here from Chris Wheeler said, Liam Delap has a release clause tied to Ipswich being relegated in the region of £40 million. Liverpool are among the teams competing for a signature. So I've got to be honest with you. I'm unsure about the Hugo situation because I haven't watched enough of him. But I also do believe that people who have watched a lot more of him than me say that this kid is the real deal. So I've no problem if it's financially Darwin out, a better striker, a younger striker in, and Jota out and a more robust backup or other option in Delap in. I'd genuinely be okay with that. I would want money spent in other areas, and I mean net spend money, but ultimately I think that would be a decent upgrade and a decent refresh. Now, I don't know what goes on with Diaz's future. That's probably still to be resolved. Embrace said, saw Delap in the under-21s. He's a handful. Delap has done well in a terrible Ipswich side, said Wesley Epner. Give him a proper service and I think he developed into a very good striker. Petter said, Craig, I disagree with the prediction for both yours and our game, but that's a good thing about opinion. Yeah, again, mate, it's just that. It's a prediction. I've no idea what's going to happen. I mean, I've seen other journalists, I ain't the journalist. I've seen journalists do their predictions and go 2-2 in that game as well. Your game, I mean. For us, look, I think we beat Everton a lot handier than people are expecting us to tomorrow. That's how I feel about it. I think we've built this up to be a worrying thing because of the week before the international break. And of course, the last 2 games against Everton as well. But this is the boys needing to show what they're made of tomorrow. They've had time off. They've had more than enough time since they've been back from the international break to prepare. There's absolutely no excuse that we don't come out of the blocks 100 miles an hour tonight. Anfield's got to be up for it, which I'm sure they will. And the players have got to show that they're not stumbling over the line for this Premier League title. They are going to run over the line and win this title. And that starts by beating Everton tomorrow. David said Delap isn't good enough, just my opinion. So I think if we think about Delap, at least David, when I think about him, I am thinking about him from the perspective of a secondary option and not the out-and-out starter week in, week out. It would make me feel a little bit calmer about the idea of a player coming in like Hugo from the Bundesliga, because you will then have a player in Delap who has Premier League experience or English football experience anyway. Look, I can understand your concerns though, and I'm certainly not going to mock you for them. I just think as part of an overall package of attacking options, I could live with it. Hey Michael, thank you bro for gifting 5 memberships. Very kind of you. They've gone to Will, to Killian, to Shanga, to Nasser and to Johnny. Top man, appreciate you. I don't like this username, but I gotta read it out because you've sent a super chat and you know it's your name. So Trent the Rat, and again not my wording. If those 2 were the options up front, we're done as title challengers, Tottenham level. I don't know, mate. You know, I don't know enough about Hugo to sit here and say whether I think he can acclimatise to the Premier League or not. Now, I did watch some highlight reels, and you know, they always show the best of anyone, but I was impressed with the range of goals, the aerial prowess, and his movement. Delap, I've always liked watching since I really started to pay attention to him because I like his fighting spirit. Kind of reminds me of a Jamie Vardy-esque type player. But look, if it's an ideal world, give me an Isak, give me a Julian Alvarez, somebody like that. But at this moment in time, world-class strikers are at a premium, and there ain't too many of them about. So, you know, I never felt it was realistic to think we were going to drop £150 million on a player who has his fair share of injuries in Isak. I would have loved us last summer to have been able to find a way to get Julian Alvarez before he went to Atleti, but you know, right now, if he isn't the guy, Hugo, right, or Delap isn't the guy, who is? That would be my sincere question. Like, who do you think we go for? And also, I would say that both of them would be an upgrade on what we have, goal scoring wise, between Jota this season and Darwin. I think I would happily sit here and say I would view that as an upgrade. But how much of an upgrade, I guess that's open to debate. Harry said Jota's declined so hard this season. It's been very strange to watch. He just looks like, I don't know, he's aged overnight or something. He just does not look the same guy. Now maybe he's carrying an injury or something that he's keeping quiet, but what I've always said about Diogo is he's a very intelligent footballer. His movement's very intelligent. He knows what to do, but if you're going to play through the middle for us and we're going to be playing balls in behind into the channel, you're going to have pace to get at defenders, and he doesn't have that. Wesley said, we've gotten 3 goals from our strikers in 6 months. Hugo and Delap can do better than that. Well, I would hope so, mate, yeah. You know, even looking at Diaz's numbers, I didn't realise he was, 1 in 14 or 9 in 15, something like that. That's shocking. My only concern about Delap is he likes to throw himself to the floor was his only contribution at Anfield. Our defenders breathed on him and he turned to a sheep. Well, look, maybe playing for Ipswich, you're looking for set pieces. You're looking for free kicks. You're looking for aerial routines that you've worked on the training ground, and throwing yourself around like that maybe was part of a game plan. It's up to the referee then to stand the ground and make sure that he deals with the game properly. I've watched them play in other games and I've been impressed with his movement. Now, I wouldn't be sitting here saying I think he could carry the line for us and win us the Champions League, but I wouldn't mind him as an option. David said our current options are Championship level. I'd take anything at this rate. Strand Larson thoughts, not good enough, Tanya. I know he scored tonight again for Wolves, but not good enough for me. So let me go through some of the news from today for you. So I mentioned at the start of the stream that we'd missed out on another midfielder, and that midfielder is Joe Gomez, who's just signed a new deal with Wolves. So he's going to stay on there. Now, doesn't mean that there isn't a release clause in there, but he looks like he's signing he has signed, a new deal with Wolves. So that's another name I think we can probably put to bed. Obviously, Wolves have now pretty much secured their Premier League survival as well. Nollipop, thank you, mate. You didn't put in a comment, but thank you. Appreciate you. That's very kind of you. I'm still kind of trying to shake off that shitty comment from your man earlier. Anything that is about my parents gets in my head. I can't lie, it does. Because I never understand what particular type of lowlife thinks that that's fair game to talk about someone's dead parents. I think that's just disgusting personally, but I'm trying to shake it off and not let it get in my head. But it does wind me up, because if he said that in front of me, I would end up in trouble. I wanted Delap to play for Ireland, said David. I was only asking Connor that earlier on, actually. Imagine Delap and a few of our other options up top for our 11, Ferguson, and I mean, I wouldn't have said no. Nollipop, thank you, bro. I really do appreciate that. I don't know what I do to deserve your support and the support of so many amazing people, but thank you, man. Appreciate it. Some people are acting like we have 10 options for 2 strikers. Well, that's my point, Mukarab. I mean, to anybody that doesn't believe Hugo or Delap or anybody else is the answer, I have no problem with that. But give me some viable alternatives, you know? I'm happy to have a conversation about any other forwards. But just, we need to have realism. Like we always said, FSG weren't spending 150 million quid on Isak. We knew that, if we're being honest with ourselves. So, Anthony said Sesko and Vlahovic are the strikers I'd be signing. I think Sesko, I have no problems with that one personally, mate. I'm a big fan. Vlahovic, I just don't think would work for us. I'm always nervy again about bringing somebody in from Serie A. I would say no to Vlahovic, but absolutely on Šeško, particularly if Kloppo gave him a glowing reference. I'd have no problem with that. And again, you're talking about that kind of 60 million range of striker. David said I don't rate Ferguson at all, that's why I wanted to lap. I do rate Ferguson. I just think he needs to continue to get games and develop, because remember how young he still is, and he's such a big unit of a fella as well. Nollipop said if somebody said anything about people I cared about, I'd have to hold. Mate, look, I'm fair game, like I've always said. People can come in, have a pop at me, no problem. I'm here to be, I put myself up here to be judged or commented on. That's part of the game. But to talk about someone's mother who took their own life, you want to be a particular piece of shit to do that. Lee Hughes said, Craig, will you be travelling via Holyhead for the Liverpool end of season sesh? Which one? Well, the answer to both are no. We're flying in for both of them. So I'm flying Dublin to Liverpool on the Saturday for the show we're doing on the last day of the season, which is the Sunday. Then I'm flying back really early Monday morning. Then I'm flying back over Wednesday morning for the Wednesday night show, and then flying home Thursday evening. So yeah, I'll be flying over to Liverpool twice in 1 week. I can't wait. I don't think I've been as excited about a set of shows, because I'm going to get to go celebrate us winning the league with Liverpool fans, and I can't wait. You're the posh type. No, we've done the other way plenty of times in the summer. It usually depends for us, Lee, about whether we want to bring stuff over and we need to take the van. So if we need to bring bits and pieces over us, we usually jump in the van and go on the boat to Holyhead. But this time, we're just going in and out. So, yeah, hence having to overpay for the flights and whatnot. And by my God, the flights were expensive. Ridiculous. That dope who mentioned that would be alright in front of you. He wouldn't say it in front of me, mate, because it wouldn't even be me you have to worry about. But anywho, look, we've given him enough time. Let's move on. So, let's talk Dietmar Hamann for a minute. Because he said, I think Xavi Simons is ready to join a club like Liverpool. He pretty much carries that RB Leipzig team and has done so well. You just have to think about his position. He plays in an advanced role at the moment, so would need Ryan Gravenberch and Alexis McAllister behind or beside him. I think he is already, and I'd say he's a similar type to Felipe Coutinho, which makes you think about how he left the club. But Simons is ready to play for a big club. There's a chance Leipzig won't get Champions League, which would have an impact too. He's a brilliant player with great feet, an eye for goal, and brings his teammates to play. Liverpool don't have a creator like him. It's probably something they lack. They're very physical, they have pace, but most similar player to Simons is probably Curtis Jones, and I think he would improve them. So that, and the fact that Fabrizio Romano has said the Premier League clubs are looking at Xavi Simons this summer, that he'd be available for about 60 million quid. I wanted to ask, is there a world where we may see Elliott sold and somebody like Simons brought in? Because we've seen lots of stuff that Elliott's going to be available this summer. So if a club comes in with the right money and a right move for Harvey, obviously, and Arna wants to move him on, do you think maybe somebody like a Simons could come in and give us that creative void? Because I do agree with Diddy on this. I do think we do lack a little bit of spark. We've got great players in midfield. Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, McAllister. Jones can do his bit as well. But we are lacking a bit of a creative force. Now, I don't know if Xavi Simons is that creative force, but I wouldn't be against another creative player. Mark said, we don't want Snake, so no, I don't want another Coutinho. I think he was just talking about the type of footballer there rather than, you know, trying to make out like he's going to be another Coutinho. But look, either way, I've never been fully convinced by Simons. Personally, I think, you know, I always ask, why was it the PSG were so happy to get rid? But then again, they got rid of Hugo and we're talking about maybe bringing him in, so... you're welcome for a cup of tea if you're passing through Holyhead. I will in the future, Lee. Absolutely. Like, there'll be many more trips back over to Liverpool and we will be going in via Holyhead for some of them. So absolutely, my man. Do you know what? Weirdly, actually, we went into a different port in August, but we went back out of Holyhead. Because we were doing Cardiff first. Hopefully going to stay with my uncle on Liverpool's last game. So are you charging for that gig? The gig? Of course. Yeah, mate, of course. All these things cost money to put on, to go over, to do. So yes, of course. All the tickets are 20 quid for either of the shows. The one on the Sunday is going to have a whole day's worth of stuff building up to our show, including a screening of the game and all the other stuff. But yeah, all the tickets are going to be 20 quid as always, and they're all ages events, so everybody's welcome to come along, if you don't mind a bit of swearing. Right, more newsy news. Automated or semi-automated offside technology. We now finally are going to have it in the Premier League this season. So Premier League confirmed today that semi-automated offside technology will be introduced into the Premier League for match week 32, commencing Saturday 12th of April. For us, I think the West Ham game might be the first one, if I'm not mistaken, for that. And look, it's about bleeding time. This was supposed to be in early this season, so it'll be interesting to see how it's implemented in the Premier League and what fans think of it, if it speeds up the process. David said, Xavi Simons is more of an influencer than a pro footballer. Got famous at the PSG Academy from his online presence. Never rated him in the slightest. I don't really watch enough of the Bundesliga to know, but when I have watched them, he's looked decent for the Netherlands, but I've always been a little bit underwhelmed. He looks like a big fish in a small pond. That's the way I'd look at it. Would he be able to come to Liverpool? Not my decision to make, but if it's who Arna wants, again, I want to back the manager. So, we did ask, and we are about 200 votes shy, just under 200 votes shy of 1,000, which is the sample size we like to try and get. So, the question is, would you be happy with Diogo Jota and Darwin Núñez out, plus, sorry, my spelling was awful there, Plough, Ekitike or Ekitike and Delap in? I'm confused by this one, Martin. Have you seen anything on Second Mo Amora? I'm sorry, mate, that's gone over my head completely. I've no idea what that's in relation to, and I'm sure it's something really obvious, and I'm a dum-dum, but there you go. Oh, it's gone 2-0 now, has it? 2-0 to Arsenal, which is right on my prediction score, by the way. Nolly Pop said, I'd be so excited about Ekitike. So would George in the chat. I just don't know too much about him. But by all accounts, people who have watched a lot more of him than me and looked into the numbers. Yes, we spoke the other day about him underperforming his XG. But if he's who the gaffer wants, and he's been a talent that's been spoken about for a few seasons, you know, before he went to PSG and then obviously to Frankfurt, he was being spoken about with a move to the Premier League. Saka scored the goal, did he, for Arsenal? There you go, back in. And well, they did lose Gabriel. Gabriel went off, I think, with a hamstring injury early in that game for Arsenal. Don't forget, they have the first leg of the Champions League against Real Madrid next week. Thoughts on Osimhen, said Haris. Not for me, mate. He just strikes me as too much of a big time Charlie, or I don't. There's something about him that I never really bought into, even when he was doing it at Napoli. Just not for us. I just don't see Victor Osimhen. And again, you'd ask, when he went on loan to Galatasaray and he was clearly available, nobody seemed to want to put a package together to bring him in, whether that be for the fee or the wages, I don't know. But again, I'd kind of wonder why, with so many clubs looking to bring in a striking talent, why nobody was willing to take a punt. Nolly Pop said he thinks Hugo would thrive under Slot. Yeah, look, I've spoken to a couple of analysts who have run over the numbers and looked through the metrics and understand these things way better than I would. And they feel like it would be a very astute piece of business. Okay, so I think, Mark has figured out which one you're on about. Is it a player called Mohamed Amora, who plays for Union Saint-Gilloise? If that's the case, I know nothing about him. But apparently Mark said we've been linked with him, so maybe that's the person you're on about, Martin. Will I be watching Boots versus Stanionis the following Saturday? If so, what's your prediction? Yeah, I kind of need those type of, like, Boots Ennis and that to start upping it and really putting themselves in 50-50 matchups. I'm getting a little bit bored of a lot of these young, prodigious American talents just fighting in consistently one-sided fights. And also needs a good performance. So, look, I'll watch any boxing. That's available to watch on the TV. But, yeah, not being happy with the almost arrogance shown by some of these guys, if that makes sense. Stanionis WBA champ said David, and I think he beats Boots. Interesting. I don't know enough about Stanionis, in all honesty, but I remember being very underwhelmed by watching Boots Ennis in his last fight anyway, if my memory's right. He's the one that signed to Matchroom, right? If I'm not mistaken. I think he signed with Matchroom a couple of fights back, but I don't know. I just want to see more 50-50 fights in boxing. You know, look at the ladies in boxing. We're getting so many more unifications and the best fighting the best. And that's what we all just want to see in boxing. So some talk about Harry Kane saying he would be a good Liverpool signing. Some pundits said it, yeah, it's just not going to happen. And it shouldn't happen. You know, spending £50 million on a 32-year-old would just be silliness, in my opinion. Like, that's not a very good strategy for the future. There's no denying Kane scores goals, you know, but I would pass, personally, for that money. Or I'd just pass full stop. Right, more stuff to get through. Let's talk about Virgil van Dijk. Our captain's issued a bit of a rallying call, and he said 9 huge games, starting with the Merseyside derby, under the lights at Anfield. Perfect, let's do this together. I love it. I love these rally calls from Virgil, and I do hope that it is a tasty atmosphere under the lights at Anfield tomorrow, because the lads need the pick-me-up. The lads need the support. Not people being nervous, biting their nails on the edge of their seats. Loud, vocal support. Make the place an absolute nightmare for Everton and any opposing team to come to. And help the lads get over the line. Look, Anfield will show up tomorrow. I've no doubt about it. But, you know, let's get back to winning ways. It's needed. I wonder who will be vice captain next season, said Haris. I'd seen a report today, not a report, an article that John Aldridge writes, a regular one I think for the Echo, and he suggested Mohamed Salah as vice captain. I have no problem with that at all. But for me, I think Maka is the one that I look at in the group now and think there's leadership in him. So if I'm looking to promote through another leader for, let's say, the next generation of Liverpool player when Mo and Virgil do depart, I'd be looking firmly at Alexis McAllister. I just see leadership written all over him. But Mo again it'd be a nice accolade for Mo as well. You know, he's a talisman, and if Virgil remained on as captain, promoting Mo to vice captain or one of the vice captains, no issue with any of that. James reckons Jones the only scouser in our team. I don't know what happens, but you know, will Jones play enough to be an influential vice captain if needs be? So is there anybody in the chat who thinks there's a chance Trent still stays? Because Arna went out of his way today in the presser to say that nobody on the outside knows what's happening with Trent. Now, I think he's shielding Trent and batting away the question, as he's done very well this season, but I don't for 1 second think Trent isn't leaving. There's been too many people from a very credible position come out and talk about the fact that that's done to Madrid. Right, so we've now had 1,000 votes, and we asked, would you be happy with Jota and Darwin out and Ekitike and Delap in? Or Ekitike and Delap in. 67% of people said yes, they would be happy with that, and I would be in that 67%, to be honest. Mukarab said, I do, because I'm an idiot, as in believing in the Trent stuff. Look, I think it's natural, Mukarab, for everybody to want the best outcome. And the best outcome for us Liverpool fans would be Trent to stay. So whilst there is even a glimmer there, I can always understand people hoping. But if someone's expecting it, I feel they're in for a letdown. Nolly Pop said, no way, he'll stay. James said, until it's 100% confirmed, crazier things have happened. Absolutely. Like, I'm old enough to remember the Gerrard situation when it looked like he was off to Chelsea. But he changed his mind when the reality of the situation really hit home with him. I would like, if I'm being honest, a lot more former Reds to speak about, not to throw Trent under the bus, but to speak about why they think he should stay. You know, I've seen a lot of stuff being wheeled out from Sky Sports pundits, whether it's Merson, whether it's Dawson, to come out and say, oh, well, you know, everybody should applaud him and wish him well. No, fuck that. Let's get former Liverpool players, preferably Scousers, to tell us exactly what should happen. And everybody knows that Trent should stay. And I don't agree with any of this applaud him and send him off, wish him well, he's done a great job nonsense. Nah, I'll be disappointed if he leaves. I won't be spiteful about it, but I'll definitely be disappointed. And I don't like these former players with no links to Liverpool talking out their arse. Because I'm telling you, if Saka was walking out the door and leaving Arsenal for free, Merson ain't going to be on there clapping and wishing him well. And I don't want to hear him say, well, Liverpool have won the league. That's not our fault. You're not going to be punished for us being successful in that endeavour. So I wish they just stop talking shite, because they all know it's waffle. Cal said, Craig, boxing will get way better when Dana White takes over and creates the Fight League, 1 belt per weight category. I think that's what's needed. In all honesty, these 4 belts, 5 belts are just nonsense. You know, WBO, WBA, IBF, WBC, IBO if you're talking about Mickey Mouse belts, WBOs, WBOs, I think I've gone through them all. WBO, WBC, WBA, IBF, IBO, it's just ridiculous. And every one of them with their hand out wanting a sanctioning fee. Paro said, Craig, so sorry, change the subject. Mate, never apologise. You're free to change the subject wherever way you want. But in recent videos, you've been saying that you love the idea of Šeško. I have a massive feeling it's another Darwin situation. Do you get where I'm coming from? I think he's far more technically proficient than Darwin. I've always said this about Šeško as well, by the way. I don't know if he'll ever be prolific. But I can see him playing in a system the way we play, and him being able to have the attributes that Arno would like in a forward. I think he's multifaceted, very young still, with good experience both at international and club level. And I just think he's tailor-made for the big stage. And I'd be very surprised if he isn't in the Premier League in the next few years. Unless, of course, he moves. I could see him in Italy as well as an example, but let's wait and see. Anthony Boylan said, I don't hold anything against Trent, but I don't want to play again if Slot knows he's going. He's not in our future, so why waste our coach's time? I'm of that mindset as well, Anthony. Don't have anything against them. Don't like the way he's dealt with the situation, but nothing personal against them. Totally agree with you, though. If Bradley's going to be the future, then let's play Bradley. For a couple of reasons. One, Bradley's going to be back fit quicker than Trent. So Bradley's back training. You know, there's a good chance we'll have Bradley involved at the weekend maybe. Or maybe he comes on as a late sub tomorrow. We'll find that out when we see the squad. But he will be back before Trent. So he's going to be in the team playing at right back before Trent comes back. And if it's going even okay and we're close to wrapping up the league, I don't see the benefit in giving Trent those minutes. Let the repetition of players getting used to Conor Bradley happen. So that's why I agree with you. Nothing out of hate towards Trent. Just what's best for us and moving forward. Cal said, Craig, big risk, and I know it may be frustrating to not spend money, but in regards to striker, I think Dan's is the answer, something special about that kid. I don't think that we can say he's the answer until he can play a full season without a serious injury concern to his back. That needs to be sorted out. So that's why I think the credible thing to do next season is to give him a full high-level loan. Yes, have a recall option in there, but he needs to prove that he can have the rigours of a Premier League season. So we've done it with Bajcetic this season. We've sent him out on a couple of loans to make sure that he gets the minutes and to make sure that those injury concerns are being put behind him. I think we need to do the same thing with Jayden Danns. But on his talent, I agree with you entirely. Harry said McConnell should get Premier League minutes. he has huge potential. I've never ever felt disappointed when James McConnell's played. I've always thought that he looks assured, he looks confident, and he looks like a very good calibre player. Don't know long term how that works out, but I totally understand where you're coming from. He's and you can see that Arna certainly rates him as well. Anthony Boylan said, I love Dan's, but he needs time. I just wish he was fit and we could have sent Darwin to Sunderland instead. It'd be an interesting one, that, wouldn't it? Wonder how we do. Craig, is it foolhardy for hope for Alvarez to become a Red? I mean, I don't expect the Philly Reds. It was interesting to see that we were looking at that last summer, either as a straight deal or a deal involving Diaz. I'm also really interested to see what does happen with Luis Diaz this summer, because we're always talking about Darwin, and we seem to have a lot of conversations as well about the possibility of another forward moving. But will that be Diaz? Will that be Jota? Could it even be both? I mean, are we going to change 3 forward positions this summer? It's a lot. So I'm intrigued to see how it works out and what the plan is. Queen Adra said, Craig, I highly doubt FSG to spend in the summer. Well, let's ask that. I'm not going to ask about particular numbers because I think that's unfair. So, I'm going to ask, do you expect to be happy with FSG spending in this window? I don't want to put a number on it because I don't think that's fair. Because just saying we're going to spend 200 million doesn't mean we're going to spend it in the right way. So, as I've said many times, I'm open to clever business as well. But I do want to see a headline signing or two. I don't want us always to have to be geniuses and try to be the cleverest guys in the room. I'd like a statement. And that statement, will it be KERKEZ at left back? Maybe. I'd like Huijsen, that would be a statement for me at centre back. But like I've said, I'm open to the idea of rejigging the forward line cleverly or moving money around intelligently. But I also do want us to stop acting like a fucking second-rate club. We need to go out there and have proper net spends. And I don't want to hear this crap about the wages as well. I'm fed up of hearing about the wage bill. It's always the go-to excuse for every fucking window. It's the wage bill. Even when you get loads of money removed off it and you haven't renewed people, apparently the wage bill's still a hindrance. CHD Warrior, you're going to have to give me more than that, mate. You said Sky Sports has Alex Isak to Liverpool 1 hour ago. That doesn't mean anything. And I read Sky Sports just before I started, and there was nothing saying that Liverpool have agreed the deal or that Liverpool are going to get Isak. Everything that I've read over the last day or two, whether it be from James Pearce or Ornstein or Romano or others, have all suggested that it's just going to be too much money for anybody, really, to go and look at that deal for Isak, especially if Newcastle still owe money and there's a sell-on clause there for Sociedad as well. Yeah, you said it showed on YouTube, but again, is it newspaper talk that they're just covering, or are they saying... I mean, I'll open up Sky Sports right now on my phone and have a look. Not seen. I mean, if it was anything developing, it would be right up there at the top, and there's nothing there. Muckrab said, Craig did some calculations and we can save around 250k a week in wages by offloading all loan, rinse and repeat players. Yep, look, we saved 17 million quid a year last year when we got rid of Thiago's wages, Adrian's wages and Matip's wages. But again, the journalists seem to forget about this. They're happy to talk about it when they were freed up, but now all of a sudden it's the wage bill's gone up again and the wage bill's a problem. These lads need to grow a pair and start really pushing back on this and saying, how the fuck is the wage bill gone up? And don't be giving us answers like, I've actually read words like delayed Champions League payments were an unexpected cost. Now make that make sense. Delayed payments were an unexpected cost. So something that we delayed became an unexpected cost. How? It's like I'm not paying my mortgage this month and then next month when they come looking for it, it's going to be an unexpected additional cost. That doesn't make any sense. Sugar Saint said, fixtures set for Arsenal to play first in all remaining match days. Coincidence, surely. Look, I've long felt that there was a real appetite to try anything to make sure Arsenal's name is still in this title race. But unfortunately for them, they're not going to be in it. And we're going to wrap it up. And I'm going to predict that we have it wrapped up in the next 6 games. So 6 games from now, it'll be done with 3 games to go. That's my prediction. If not before then, Arsenal, in my opinion, have to focus now on the 2 legs against Madrid and prioritise them. And I think there's more points to be dropped from everyone. But we need to do our part, which is 2 wins this week. 1 against Everton and then another one against Fulham. If we can do that, job done. Pyro said, what are your thoughts on Craig Houlden? Do you think players like him and Luke Chambers need to be offloaded fully? Yes, I do. For varying reasons. Craig Houlden just can't establish himself. Whether it's because of injuries, the talent is there. The kid looks like a really good footballer. But 2 loan moves this season haven't really worked out for him. Previous moves haven't worked out. It's time to cut our losses and just say, look, it hasn't worked out for us. We need to be realistic about it. Sending these lads out season after season and not even getting good loans. Like, Craig Houlden, has his value increased to many of these loans? No, it hasn't. It just hasn't worked out. So, yeah, draw a line under it, move on, and again, start to really make every penny count in these scenarios. The Facebook Network, how are you, my friend? What's up, Craig? Hope all is well. Not too bad, thank you. Like you said, I'm definitely tired of praising the accountants to turn up and be told we can't afford to invest in the way that keeps us competitive. Yep. It's nonsense, mate. Absolute nonsense. And it feels like we're being set up. Everybody I speak to, whenever I'm in any way optimistic about the summer, brings me back down to reality. Whether it's friends of mine in America, whether it's journalists I'm speaking to, whether it's analysts, whether it's other clubs' fans, everybody just believes FSG are so set in their ways and they are so miserly in the way that they invest into the club that this is what we're going to get. And they hide behind this bullshit of self-sustaining and all the other buzzwords that gives them a get out of jail card for not doing their damn job as owners. And I'm not going to accept it. And I don't think many other Liverpool fans are. This is it. You either do it this summer and show that you have the desire to back your manager and make this club a dominant club. None of this winning a title and falling away for 3 years bollocks. Make us competitive. Show us that we're building to win. And yeah, if it's unsustainably, brilliant. But let's not pretend that debt in football is always a dirty word. It isn't. Let's not pretend that we can't spend more. We can. Stop letting anybody fill your head full of the nonsense that they're trying to. These fuckers are doing it because they have a vested interest in staying on the right side of the club. You know that. I know that. These very precious journalists know that. But they don't like being called out on it. Tough. You can't have jam on both sides of your bread. You are either a journalist that covers the club and calls it out and praises where necessary, or you are an extension of the club's PR department and you get called out for what you are. But don't try to pretend otherwise. I'm not having it, and fans aren't having it. Time to start speaking up. And it kills me Like, they're all... Does anybody else feel like this? Or maybe I'm reading it wrong. Do you feel like the promises of a big summer are already being walked back in the coverage of targets who have been written about and pitched quite a lot by the same group of journalists? Now all of a sudden, when it's getting closer and closer to the time where these things actually have to be sorted out, all of a sudden we start getting told, oh, this doesn't seem achievable. Liverpool have lots of work to do in other areas and can't prioritise a big pool of money in one particular position. Just the same shit, different day, different summer. It's frustrating. But this is the last summer. I think they get away with it. If they don't do it this summer, I think that's going to be enough to trigger a domino effect with fans where they finally just start to say, nah, we can't put up with this crap anymore. Not from the manager, nothing to do with him, not from the players. But the owners have to be held to account. Paro said, Craig, I always wonder how much more we could have won with Kloppo if he had proper backing. I know. I'm the same, mate. I'm the same. And it frustrates me because there's no doubt trophies were left on the table. No doubt in my mind whatsoever. So Arsenal scraping a 2-1 win there over Fulham. So they've done their part, closing the gap to 9. Are we all quaking in our boots accordingly? Mukarab said, already being unsaid, we all knew we'd never get a 200 million war chest. I know. What happens is, we get sold the dream of a Ferrari, but then ultimately we'll end up with a Vauxhall Insignia with high mileage for a reasonable fee that'll be a good workhorse. No slagging off of Vauxhall intended there. Other bang average cars are available. Cal said, my biggest frustration with FSG, the 2018-2020 Champions League, we were unplayable, could have kicked on, be one of the greatest footy teams ever, literally needed one or two players and gotten out. Yep. Exactly. That's me as well, mate. It's nonsense. Even going back to the selling of some of our star players and the way that money was reinvested. Like, again, bring me back to the days of Brendan Rodgers. How the fuck did Balotelli end up at Liverpool? Like, some of these decisions have been shocking. When we needed a midfielder, and every fan said, for the whole season we need a midfielder. And then at the very end of a transfer window, we end up with Arthur Melo on loan. These things, and then Ben Davies, Ozan Kabak, these things, you can't forget about them. Even when Stephen Corker fucking Corker was brought in on loan. I mean, the loans have been shocking. Not one of them has ever worked out. It's the whole thing has just been cheap. Mukrab said, Craig, it astounds me that I see so many people thinking FSG will be broke if they buy Malaga. Look, I don't have any issues with the multi-club stuff if they want to do that. No problem. But again, my only concern as a Liverpool fan is, what are they doing for us? And do they want to win? Like, I know that sounds like it should be a simplistic question, but do these owners want to win? Not do they want Champions League football. Do these owners really want to win? My opinion as a fan is no. They found ways to do it and have gotten lucky on occasion. But I don't sense a burning desire that keeps them up at night to want Liverpool to win 4 league titles in a row or 3 league titles in a row. I don't. I get it that they're doing enough to satisfy the hardcore group of fans who want to be backing of the club and want to be supportive and don't want to be booing or... They've done enough to keep them on side for now. But I do think a lot of eyes are going to be on this summer. The managers have saved this lot. 100% agree with that, Jeremy. Absolutely. Bang on. 100% agree. Cal said, last game of the season, John and Linda come for the customary end of season game to show face. we need to flood the place with Where's the Money John jumpers. But where could somebody get these Where's the Money John jumpers? Anyone know? I'm starting to see that phrase, by the way, the WTMJ. I'm starting to see that pop up on a lot more forums now, in comments, which does make me smile. Mr. Roberticus, I am tickety-boo this evening, sir. Tickety-boo. Do members get discounts? Absolutely, Haris. If you go on to the membership tab of our YouTube channel, there's a 10% discount code there for members. So, 100%, sir, you do. Craig, this could sound stupid, but would you take Ralph Rangnick as sporting director? Well, look, we have a sporting director, and I'd like to see said sporting director get to work. But I would have much rather Rangnick to come in as a sporting director than ever as a manager or anything. So, from that regard, I would call him a very accomplished sporting director, Ralph Rangnick, yes. But we have one now. And by all accounts, you know, just reading yesterday, we were being told that... I'm going to read it out to you again, just in case you missed it and you need something to make you smile. I mean, where does this type of piece come from, right? An unnamed sporting director on Hughes and Edwards. Now, this was in the newspaper. They're the best. Their combined contacts, knowledge and expertise is elite. So I'd be surprised if there wasn't a sustainable plan in motion at Liverpool. I could do that as well. An unnamed sporting director said that the two of them are frauds. Now, I can't tell you who that sporting director is because they only spoke to me under the guise of anonymity. We can all play that bullshit game of look at how great these guys are. These unnamed sporting directors are praising them. It means nothing because I could sit here and say, oh yeah, I spoke to 4 unnamed sporting directors and they all said that they're cheap fucks. See? Doesn't mean nothing. It's just empty words. But it's out there in the media over and over and over again. They're all great lads. Sure, look at them. 12-inch langers on the lot of them. Jeremy said an unnamed model said she's the best, or he's the best she's ever been with. I heard that rumour as well, mate. An unnamed gym owner said that I am the greatest physical specimen of a human being they've ever seen. Now, I can't tell you who this is for, you know, under the cloak of anonymity and all. Joshua said, PR isn't helping them anymore. Fans know they're bullshit. And do you know how happy that makes me, Joshua? Honestly, do you know how happy it makes me that finally people are starting to see through the PR crap? And it makes me even more happy that the journalists get so tetchy about it and they're so protective and so sensitive that anyone criticising them, well, let's call the police. And you're never living that down, mate. Let me look into the camera. Never, ever are you living that down. Ever. That is going to be something that I will talk about until I stop making content. A journalist being so much of a wet wipe that they want to go to the police for being tagged in a post on Twitter. What type of a wet wipe are you? You charge people to read your content and want them to watch and give you money on platforms, and when somebody calls you out on a disagreement, on an opinion, rather than take it on the chin, you are so fucking sensitive and so protected that you want to run to the police. The police. Surely one of your mates must have said to you, that is embarrassing. Because it is shocking. Shocking. And did I mention shocking? Right up there with Goldbridge running to the solicitors because he didn't like what was being said. Couldn't disprove it because everything that was said was true, but tries to bully people and intimidate people. But I won't be intimidated, and I won't be bullied, and I won't be called a bully by some little wet wipe who threw me under a bus and hasn't got the balls to own his opinions. Tough. Run to the police. Please do. It will absolutely make my week. Queen Nadra, if we lose tomorrow, it's going to be... if we lose our game tomorrow, it's going to be... It'll kill our momentum. I just... Look, I'm an optimist in this regard, Queen Andrea. Tomorrow, I expect a reaction, because it was a really tough week for us and the players, I'm sure, before the international break. So there's no excuse. There's no tiredness excuse, nothing. There's been plenty of time for this to be sorted out and for the lads to be ready and fresh and prepared for Everton. We know they're going to sit deep. We know they're going to play for set pieces. We know what they're going to do, but we can't let them do it. We have to go and enforce our will on them. And Anfield's got to stand up as well and get behind the lads. Which they will, by the way. I'm fully expecting nothing but a raucous atmosphere. Paro said, I've got to be honest, Craig, this member-only chat is so much better. I'm loving it, mate. I'm like, you haven't seen me come on here in a bad mood once. Have you not? I hope you guys have noticed that, by the way. I've been back to myself, so much more upbeat and happy since we've sorted the chat out. And I do obviously have a heavy heart about some of the people who want to comment and for a financial reason can't become members. That's the trade-off, and it sucks. And it doesn't go unnoticed with me either. But I feel so much better and so much happier and so much more like myself. And I feel like I'm doing a better job because the chat is not toxic. What momentum? We've lost our last two. We've got to get momentum, I guess, Robbie. Like as I mentioned, coming in off the back of the week we had before the international break, man, it was tough. To go out, like, we were looking at a season that we were thinking a double, maybe some type of a treble, at least deep in the Champions League. You seen the draw started to play out for us. And then over the course of a week, we were beaten by a better PSG side. And we lost the cup final again on the day, deservingly lost the cup final to a better side on the day. And that was tough. And then you've got 2.5 weeks of no football. So the only way to really squash any of this wobble talk is to go out there and beat Everton tomorrow. Nolly Pop, thank you for gifting a membership. That one's gone to David Stoker. A. Michael said Nunes 50 million, Diaz 65, Jota 35, Endo 15, Chimikas 15, Elliott 35, Kwanzaa 50, Gomez 15. That's 280 million. So there's a lot of those players, mate. I wouldn't have any qualms with moving on, but there is a lot there to do in one window and then reinforce. So of the forwards you've mentioned, I think you could probably afford to move 2 on in the window. Maybe then you look at 1 in the winter, but I think 2 on in the window. Endo, I think that may come down to what Endo wants to do, and you know, if he wants to play more regularly, I think the club will make that happen from it. The move is good for all parties. Costa seems to be the sensible option to be moved on at left back. Elliott, again, not something that necessarily every fan would agree with, but we have been told that Elliott, from Melissa Reddy, I believe, that Elliott is available. And if I'm wrong about Melissa Reddy being the one that said that, apologies. I think it was, though. Kwanzaa, I wouldn't be moving on, personally. Gomez, I could understand. But I want to keep the younger players. So your Kwanzaas of this world, Canades, I want to keep them. And add in a Huijsen or somebody like that. Dean Jordan, how are you, Dean? Said, hey Craig, hope you're good. Arsenal got the win. Hopefully we can do the same tomorrow. Yep, we have to. We can't be given any life to this desire for a wobble from Liverpool and a title race to be back open again. We got to keep squashing it every time. Do our job, get the win. Cal said, what I like about the members only chat is that we can disagree and critique each other's opinions. Respectfully, I appreciate other people's views when done so politely. So do I. I love him interacting back and forth. And also I feel like as it becomes member only chat, we get to know each other better as well. Look, it's open. Everybody can comment on any video that goes up. Everybody can comment on any stream when they're over. So people do still have the opportunity to put their points across. But this way, I think, particularly on a match day, it just protects the environment of the channel. David said, great game to bounce back, and thank you, my friend. Appreciate you. Cal gifted 5 memberships as well. Legend Cal, thank you, mate. As did Jeremy K. Thank you, Jeremy. Very kind of you, sir. Paro said, sorry it's late. Did Sabrina have a nice Mother's Day? Yeah, because definitely did something there. I think she was fine, to be honest, mate. We were just back from holidays as well. But yeah, she's good. Yeah, I have to say, she's looking brilliant. I mean, all the work she's doing in the gym, I'm a very lucky husband. She's looking fantastic and feeling happy and confident in herself, and that's all I want. Ian said, you seem a lot happier and back to yourself, loving life. You're like a younger brother to me. Appreciate you, Eno. Thank you. I feel that way, mate. You know, I look forward to the interactions again and chatting with everybody. Is Gravenberch available tomorrow? He is, Steve. Sorry. Yeah, we got the word today from the manager that both of them are around. They were doing one last training session again, but yes, himself and Allison are available. Bradley, it might come too soon for, especially at the start, so let's wait and see what happens there. Trent will be out. Gomez will be out. Morton will be out. I think that's about it, unless I've forgotten somebody. Does that motivate me to want to get better? Sabrina losing weight? Not really, no. Well, she didn't really lose weight, actually. She hasn't lost any weight. She's just become fitter and more toned, but no, I have my own thought processes on what I need to do, and at the minute, the channel is every bit of my focus because I've got the bit between my teeth now at the minute, and I've invested in a new computer, new monitor. That's all going to be set up next week, and again, just looking for the future to try and keep building on the good platform we have as a channel. Craig Chiesa should start as our number 9 tomorrow, but known slot, he's going to play Jota. Yeah, I think we got an indication maybe from Arna today that we're unlikely to see the Chiesa start, because he spoke about Chiesa having to battle with Mo, which meant at least he looks at him as a right winger there. But personally, for me, it shouldn't even be a debate. Do you know what? I go as far as to say I would rather Darwin start than Jota through the middle because of the way Jota's looked recently. But for me, Chiesa would be the option. Maybe Arna goes back to Luis Diaz through the middle, Cody Gakpo on the left and Salah on the right. But we need to score, and we need to score early tomorrow. We need to make sure that this isn't a game that Everton building confidence in as it goes on. Paro said nothing needs to motivate Craig. Look, I've lost 2 stone, but I've a lot more to do. But I don't have the time to look into going to the gym and all the other stuff, because I am honestly flat out with work stuff every day, and I love it. I'm in a really good rhythm and enjoying stuff. Finished Forest 1, United 0. Thank you for that, Mark. So there you go. Forest still looking very, very solid now for that Champions League spot, which honestly, is this the biggest upset of the season? Apart from us maybe winning the league. But you remember at the start of the season, there was a lot of pundits predicting Forest to get relegated. And I'm not going to say that that was a stupid prediction. It was probably a realistic prediction. But what Forest have done, it's incredible. And what a story it'll be for them if they can bring Champions League football to the City Ground in a season where it wasn't inconceivable of them getting relegated. Jeremy said, gotta stand during the live streams. No, I like my comfy chair too much, mate. No. United are insane, said Sinister. Their fans need to stop singing that fucking monotonous song about Amram over and over again. My God, I have to mute every time United fans are being picked up by microphones at games because they're turning into Chelsea with their Chelsea, Chelsea. United fans and that Amram song, they're singing it for 20 minutes on end. It is, my God, it's insane. You're losing the game 1-0 and you're all there happily just singing about how great the manager is and all. I mean, is that where it's gotten to, United fans? I'm not saying you should be calling for the man's head or anything, but just relentlessly singing this same monotone song over and over and over and over and over, it's not inspiring anyone. Liz said, we need a clinical win tomorrow. Miss my friend Craig. Way too many doctors in my life. Well, I know what you've been through there, Liz, and I certainly hope that the days of too many doctors in your life come to an end soon and you can get back to living life the way you want to. Queen Nadra said, I think FSG buys Malaga, then gets players from there. Well, I mean, to be fair, they're a La Liga 2 side who have absolutely no players there that will be ready for us. Now, they have brought players like Hoyson through their academy. And I think it will be a very astute club for FSG to buy, in all honesty. Yeah, I do. I think it'd be a good club based in Europe, a good catchment area. Again, if you're bringing players from South America or anything, a nice warm part of Spain there to bring them in and let them develop. So this one to me would be good. You know, I would have no issues with it. And I don't have any problems with FSG and the multi-club model. I just have problems when I don't feel that they're focusing on us winning. Parho said, how's the new car going? Yeah, it's good. I mean, I may have driven it 10 times at this point, mate. I very rarely even go out, but I've been assured by my wife that she's liking it. So yeah, all good, my man, all good. Ian said, good man on the weight loss. I'm 57 now, need to sort myself out. I've lost just over 2 stone in the last 4 weeks and find it really hard. Score prediction tomorrow, 2-1 for the Reds. It's yeah, for me it's just a lifestyle thing. Ian, if I cut out the late night chocolate and crisps, it should be straightforward for me. But as we get older, man, these things are a bit more difficult, aren't they? And you know, life gets in the way, and it's so easy at times to just take the easy option, isn't it? Or the pre-prepared options. Yeah, I can certainly learn a lot from the missus on that front. Ian said, my landlord will be in a good mood tomorrow. He's a Forest fan, went to watch them beat United. Good. Maybe the right time to ask for a rent reduction, or if there ever a good time for that. Right, on the poll that we have up at the minute, we've had over 1,000 votes. So we asked, do you expect to be happy with FSG spending in this window? 68% said no, they don't expect to be happy, and 32% said yes, they do. And thank you to everyone that voted. Let's talk about Endo for a second. Florian Plettenberg has said that while Frankfurt have inquired about Watoro, Endo. What is it about me and names lately? This is not even a particularly complicated one. He might be a little bit too expensive for them as things currently stand. Anyway, was the latest bit of news there. I think I'm just making sure I haven't missed out on anything. So there's a piece here that said Liverpool are 100% in the mix for Hugo Ekitike this summer. Initial talks have already taken place between the club and his camp. The Liverpool board really, all in capitals here, appreciate the profile of the player. Ekitike, is attracted to the idea of playing in the Premier League. Anfield sector posted that earlier on. And again, it kind of brings me back to the title of tonight's stream. I think it's a more likely world that we end up with somebody like Hugo and another addition in the attack line, maybe somebody like a Delap, than certainly somebody like an Isak, who already even the journalists now are starting to back away from realistically thinking is achievable for Liverpool. Aaron, going over to watch the game tomorrow, praying for a win, first time over since the year we won the title. I've been lucky enough to go to a few Merseyside derbies. One 4-0 victory when Rodgers was manager, and 1-1 draw when Jagielka scored that late equaliser. They're great, mate, and I always enjoyed them. And both of the ones I went to were, if I remember correctly, nighttime games. The 4-0 one definitely was. And it was brilliant. Really enjoyed. Of course, why wouldn't you enjoy a 4-0 derby victory? But hoping for a repeat performance tomorrow, a repeat score of that 4-0 when I was over, when Roberto Martinez was the coach. Lukaku did his ACL in that game as well. Mukarab said 30 million max is too expensive. I don't know who that was in relation to. I certainly wouldn't consider 30 million expensive or overly expensive. If you're talking about for Endo, then you're probably more with regards to his age as well on top of that. Harry said Endo has great versatility. We should keep him. I agree. So there's some players in our squad that I think, if it's down to them asking to move, they may be facilitated that. Endo being one, Gomez being another. And then there will be players who, obviously, the manager feels like need to move on for another reason, and we'll see that play out over the summer. Ian said, any news on Milos KERKEZ? Yeah, there's been quite a bit over the last 24 or 48 hours. Of all the players in this summer's transfer window, he's the one, as of right now, that I feel is the most likely to say is going to happen. Now, you never say anything's 100% in this world, but 45 million is a number that is repeatedly doing the rounds. Articles saying about Julio Soler already being in there as the replacement. And it doesn't seem to matter what outlet or what part of the world you're reading the story from. There seems to be a lot of optimism on Liverpool and Milos KERKEZ happening this summer. And I think it's the right move. I do. I think it's the right move. It'll be interesting to see maybe how much we get for Costas if he's the one that moves on and where he goes to. Ian Pearce said, Endo for me has to stay. Given a chance, he'd be our Millie from a few years back. Love to see him Buemo in a red shirt, but his name just isn't mentioned with us. I think the problem with Brian Buemo is probably the money that Brentford would ask there, because we know how much he's progressed since he's gone in there and how good he's been under Thomas Frank. You're seeing figures of around 70-80 million at times being mentioned, and that's just not a number that we're going to pay. As much as I do agree, I love Brian Buemo. I think he'd be a great addition to the team. Harry said, thoughts on the Hincapié links? It's one of those, Haris, that can't decide whether it's lazy journalism or whether maybe the fact that he can play both positions on the left side, as to maybe that appeals. Yeah, I'm unsure is the honest answer, mate. I'm unsure. Yeah, that's ultimately where I come down on it. I wouldn't know either way whether to believe the links or not. I mean, what do you guys think on them? Darth Canova said 45 million is doable for a 21-year-old left back. Good business. Yeah, I agree. Like, you're talking about somebody there who could play at the club for 10 years if everything went well and it worked out. So 100%. And I love the balance then of him at that age and Robbo at the other end of his career, but still very impactful and very experienced. I think it's a good balance. Paro said, imagine both contracts get done, KERKEZ and Huijsen in, a midfielder and Alvarez. I know it's too good to be true, but it's lovely to think we've got decent owners for a minute, or City owners for a minute. I think that should be a doable window. Well, look, Alvarez may be the sticking point, but I think you could move on players and make that kind of window you're speaking about there happen for 100 million, let's say, net. Excuse me. Last night I was watching Back Pages Tonight, and they were talking about Arsenal, and they were talking about the new sporting director and how much they're expecting Arsenal to do in the summer. And they were talking 150 million should be possible there for Arsenal in the summer. And everybody was kind of nodding along and in agreement, forward in for, let's say, 60 or 70. They were talking about Zubamendi in for 50 million and then another player. And it just kind of got me thinking, everybody's just kind of blasé about that. Yeah, Arsenal probably spend 150 million, and then kind of we're sitting here going, and we want to compete. Like, we want to be the club that wins league titles, and yeah, you know, where was our Declan Rice type of midfielder? I know we went for Caicedo, but that didn't happen. And they're willing to pay. And I hope we don't get left behind. Like, I have this big frustration in my mind. Can I concede that Edwards and Hughes could be potentially genius at their jobs? Yes. I think there's a world, particularly with Edwards, where I can get to that point. But what really winds me up is, if we all agreed for a moment that we believe that the scouting department and the recruitment team are zoned in and can do good business, as a fan, it winds me up even more that we don't back the people who are so clever. It frustrates the shit out of me. It's not like we have this scattergun approach where we throw a load of stuff at the wall and see what sticks. Our recruitment has more or less been pretty goddamn good. And these are the type of reasons why we should back the manager massively. Because he's proven himself this year. Now it's on the recruitment team, who, in Edwards' case, has certainly proven himself in the past. If we're not going to back everything when everybody's good at their jobs, then are we just hoping for miracles again? Are we hoping for overachievements? Are we hoping for rough, polished diamonds? If that's the case, these owners are going to frustrate us even more and more. We need this very, very significant window that we were promised. And players know we're cheap. Well, I remember the piece from Mo Chatter in Anfield Index talking about, in the industry, Liverpool are known as miserly. That line never left me. It just stuck in my head. Ian Pearce said Hugo or Sesko up top and I'd be happy. To be honest, I'd rather sooner Diaz go than Jota, but that's just me. I think Diaz would be the more sensible sale because of the age style as well. And I can't remember off the top of my head what Diogo's contract situation is with Liverpool. I don't know when it's up. But we know Diaz has 2 years to go. He's 28. I feel like if you are to cash in on him, it's this summer or you extend. Because we can't allow a situation where Diaz comes down to 18 months, 1 year to go, and we're back here again talking about players going for next to nothing. John Allison, welcome to Anfield Agenda FC. And there was somebody actually I meant to, Morad Zaki, welcome mate to Anfield Agenda Ultras. Thank you, appreciate your support. Grafenberg is better than Rice, but I get your point about spending the money. Again, fair point, Jaden. But it is just about, like, if that's what was needed, that's what was gotten. If you get me, like, I'd like to see a Virgil van Dijk type centre back situation, or I'd like to see that repeated up top, or an Alisson Becker situation repeated. Like, you pay for the absolute quality that you're getting, proven talent, and then you can supplement with clever bits of business here or there. But we do need those standout signs that this club are passionate about winning. And that feels very weird to say that. Like, we were all brought up to believe Liverpool exists to win trophies. Didn't Diaz's father state that he wants him to go to Barca someday? Yep, he said it was always his dream, the player's dream. Craig, just a question. How do you add someone to reply to their message? So you just put in @ you start typing their name, and then their name will appear as an option. You click on it, and then you just write your message. At least that's what I do anyway here when I'm replying to someone. Morad said, I'm not convinced by Hugo. Traumatised from Nunes. I just want a Premier League proven star that's going to get guaranteed goals. Well, then there's only one option for you, really, isn't there? That Premier League star you're talking about is Isak, because there isn't another one that we can sit here and talk about. Which is, it kind of brings me back to the Omar Marmoush conversation. This is why I was so big on Liverpool signing Marmoush when he was at Frankfurt, and now he's gone to Manchester City. And I think we'll see over the course of time what a good player he is. A. Michael said Liverpool's 11-25-26 season: Alisson, Bradley, Kanade, VVD, KERKEZ, Maka, Soboslai, Gravenberch, Salah, Hugo, Gakpo, Mamadashvili, Robbo, Kwanzaa, Huijsen, Hato, Jones, Bajcetic, Elliott, Frimpong, Sesko, Chiesa. I think Elliott may be gone this summer. I hope not, by the way, because you know my thoughts on Harvey Elliott. I'm a fan. Angie, how are you? Always lovely to see you with my friend. Said, hey Craig, I hope you're good. FSG are full of BS. I've heard that apparently somebody in the know said Salah hasn't been offered any contract yet. I really hate the game that they're playing, Angie, with Virgil and Mo. I really despise everything about it, because it smacks of a lack of respect to the players, and it smacks to a cheapness that we should be better than. Like, I don't think anybody in the chat will say they haven't both had a good season, right? And I don't think anybody in the chat will say that we've seen a decline from either of them that hasn't been something that's normal. So, for instance, Salah has dropped away in the latter part of seasons. That's happened in the past. I don't think that's specifically to do with an age problem or anything like that. So, you've got your captain. You've got your star striker. They both want to stay. They're probably turning down bigger money from elsewhere. And it pisses me off that a club that talks about the Liverpool way and being respectful is almost playing a game of chicken with the two players over who blinks first to save a few quid. And I find it incredibly disrespectful to these players. And, you know, others will talk about these contracts being for what you can do in the future, not what you've done in the past, and there's fairness to that. But they are showing again this season. Mohamed Salah is top of the goal scoring charts. Virgil van Dijk is statistically one of the best centre-backs in Europe. So it's not like they're falling off. And nobody can guarantee you what happens next year. No signing you make this summer, no player that's at the club, nobody can guarantee you something next year. So there's always some unquantifiable risk. But we should know by now whether that risk is worth the assessment of a new contract. So I find it, as a fan, particularly disturbing that these two great servants who want to stay at our club are having the piss taken out of them by cheap owners. That's my take on it. And I don't expect everyone to agree with me, but it is my honest opinion, and it's another reason why I despise FSG so much, is because even the players that do it, and do it to the best of their ability and prove themselves, are getting lowballed by these cheap clowns, and it pisses me off. You know, like, what is the Liverpool way? Because we're always hearing it. It's supposed to be like, the Liverpool way is not throwing Trent under a bus. So the Liverpool way is protecting a lad that wants to leave the club, and not protecting the two players who are doing everything to stay here and whose families and careers don't know what's going to happen in the summer and have been too respectful to really look at their options elsewhere. And we're not repaying that faith. That stinks to me. Absolutely stinks. And this Liverpool way bullshit is again just another fucking tag unless you live that life. And the club aren't doing that for me. And I just despise FSG. I do. And I don't care if people want to say it's Hughes or Edwards. They're all one and the same to me. Give these lads the contracts. Stop being cheap about it. Stop dicking them around and let them know where their futures lie, or tell them you're not doing it. But either way, we're at this point of the season now, and again we're still talking about uncertainty. It's not right, and it isn't the Liverpool way. Just give Virgil and Mo their respective contracts. I've had enough of FSG, said Haris. It's pathetic, isn't it? It truly is pathetic that we still don't see these lads being given their fair dues. Nolly Pop said underdog mentality. Does it mean not getting to succeed? That's fair. But look, I love a siege mentality. I love an us against the world idea. But if you had to have a siege mentality or an underdog mentality, you've got to have hungry people willing to fight. And we're expecting that of Virgil, and we're expecting that of Mo, but we're not repaying that. We're not repaying that professionalism. We're not repaying that loyalty. We're again having to sit here as Liverpool fans, having the likes of Paul Merson come out and say, oh, I think all three are off. And Ben Foster the other day saying, I think all three are off. I think if it doesn't get done in the next week or two, they're all off. I'm fucking sick of hearing that. I'm sick of these clowns over in Boston missing an open goal for positivity when we need a nice little boost for the run-in for the rest of the league. Get it done, get it done, get it done. Pay up or fuck off, but stop taking the piss out of us all. Paro said, I really struggle with understanding how Klopp had done it for so long. We've got a great manager now in Arne, but I feel he'll leave within 3 years if he gets the same empty pot Klopp had. Again, these are things that I think a lot of fans would agree with, but it's going to take more people to start demanding what I think should be the bare minimum. Mark said, we need players like Elliott to increase the quality and depth of the squad. Fixture congestion is not going to get easier. Elliott has proved creativity when he's been called upon. He loves the club. I totally agree, Mark. I have no interest in moving Elliott on this summer. The only reason I think it's been spoken about, it's maybe Arne has a different view. Now, we don't know yet, but we have seen it mentioned that he's available this summer. We know Harvey would want to stay and fight for his place. We know how much he loves the club. And I absolutely agree with you. Like, I've looked at our bench this season at times, Mark, and seen players on there that I know aren't going to come off the bench. Like, they're on there, they're taking up a squad place, they're getting paid, and you know there's no chance of them coming on. The manager, and if they do come on, it'll be for 3 minutes of stoppage time. And that isn't good enough for me. When you look at the squad and think, right, the manager certainly isn't going to use X, Y, and Z. You just have to say, well, what's the point? Which, I guess, brings us back to the conversation that Arne's had enough time to assess, so there is no more excuses for the club. The manager's looked at the squad, the manager's proven what he can do, so now back him. Like I spoke about with Trent, running out of excuses not to stay. Well, I'm running out of excuses for these owners to get away with not spending. Slot's proven he's good enough for the job. He's going to win a league title in his first year, so back him this summer. And if you don't do that, well, then we know where the problem really lies. And it is going to be with the owners. If they do it, brilliant. We'll all be on here and we'll all be happy. And make no mistake about it, I want to be wrong. Nothing would make me happier than being on here in the summer going, well, don't I look like an absolute pudding? Don't I look like a clown? They did do it, lads. They spent the money. We do have a squad that we can go into next season and think, yes, we can win back-to-back league titles. I'm a fan, of course. Deep down, that's what I want. And that's what you guys want. Nollipop said, totally agree. We need to keep the identity and allow for success. You can have both. Lawrence Taylor, how are you, Lawrence? Said, I don't understand why either the players or the club haven't issued a take it or leave it ultimatum after negotiating for so long. I 100% agree with you, Lawrence. And to be fair to Virgil and Mo, they are way more patient than I would be. And I think it is out of that love of the club and what it means to them and what they mean to the fans. And I think that that love is being leveraged by FSG, and I don't like it. But I do also totally agree with you, mate. There should always be a line in the sand where it's, this is the cut-off day. It gets sorted by here, or we move on. Jeremy said, they've done almost nothing I've seen in the last 3 windows. They've made a profit in the last 2. But again, if I want to be balanced and fair about this, and I try to be, I can see a world where maybe Arne needed to have a look. And maybe things needed to be put in place. So The recruitment team needed time to get deals sorted out. Ireland needed time to assess the squad fully. So I feel like deep down, I've given the benefit of the doubt. And many fans have given the benefit of the doubt where possible, even if we've disagreed. Now, those excuses are dried up. You either show what you're about or you let us know that you've no interest in winning. Paro said, the thing that annoys me with Arne is Chiesa gets minimal minutes but is scored whenever given an actual chance. I was astounded, absolutely astounded that Diogo Jota started the League Cup final. Couldn't believe what I was seeing after the Paris Saint-Germain game. Honestly, I thought I was being trolled at first. And like you've said, mate, came off the bench, Chiesa, and scored. I mean, if we're to believe that we all live in a world where you get rewarded for what you do, then he surely has to start one of the games this week, if not both of them. Or else, what's the fucking point? Project Lunar said, I want Chiesa to start tomorrow, but it'll probably end up being Jota, knowing slot. I would, if I was a betting man, I'd probably lean to him going with Diaz and Gakpo on the left, but I agree with you. It should be Chiesa for me as well. Vinny getting booed off at the Bernabeu apparently. Trent won't make it through pre-season at this rate. Jesus. What's the outcome in that one, by the way? I know it was the 1-0 for Madrid from the first leg. What was the score in the second one? I know it was a half-a kickoff, if I'm right. I'm still okay with the movement. 4-4 in aggregate. Oh my God. So 3-2 on the night to Sociedad. Oh, 4-3 on the night, sorry, to Sociedad. Jeez, that's nuts. Crazy. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go grab a shower, grab some food, and I will see you guys tomorrow. We'll be live from about, what time is it? About 6:45 for the watch along. Again, if you can come and see us in Liverpool for one of our 2 live shows, you can get your tickets by scanning the QR code on the screen. We're going to be in Liverpool at the Hot Water on May the 25th. I think it is 25th. 25th, last game of the season day. And we're also going to be there May 28th as well. Hope you can come along and join us. We'll see you tomorrow for the watch along. Thank you for your support as always. Do drop a like for me before you head off. And we'll catch up with you soon. Much love. Bye-bye.